Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show. Kevin, welcome to the Principal Podcast. Happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. It's funny because when I read and reread the first question, I'm like, okay, so what got you into entrepreneurship and what led you to start AccuCode, Kevin, in 1995, which is the day I was born. I mean, the year I was born. So we have something in common. What got you into this whole thing, Kevin?
Well, I was 26 years old, and I was working for another company in the industry. Um, I won't name them, but they were not a good employer. It was not a positive experience, and the industry was quite young at that point, and I decided that if they were one of the leading market competitors, that I liked my odds. And I think I kind of always knew I was going to end up starting my own business. I just didn't have any idea what it was going to be. And life led me to technology and this industry. When I first started, barcode scanners were very expensive and brand new. They literally, one scanner cost like $2,000, and that's in 1995 dollars. So that'd be the equivalent of probably $7,000 or $8,000 now. And they were terrible. They weighed like 3 pounds. They came with a book that was literally like that thick of all the different cables and connectors that you might need to plug it into your dumb terminal. And that was where we started. And I literally quit my job on Friday and started this on Monday morning. And I had my first customer by 10:30 that morning. It was a company I'd already been doing business with, a company called Wilkerson Corporation that today is a division of Berkshire Hathaway.
That is quite the origin story. I like it.
Yeah.
What's the problem that you solve with AccuCode? Like, what is it that you're helping people achieve exactly?
There are two things, and looking at your questions, the one, for me personally, it's about helping people. Um, First my customers, then my trading partners, and then my employees. And I get up every day with the genuine intent of going out in the world and helping everyone. And I get to make a really good living doing that. From a company standpoint, the way I describe it is that the core of what we do is creating accurate real-time visibility. Without accurate visibility of pretty much everything going on in your business, you don't have much of a hope of driving any kind of consistent outcomes or scale or sustainability. And it's very, if you have to rely on good quality employees showing up every day and doing their jobs really well, that doesn't scale very well, because that's just not how human nature works. Even the best employees have bad days. Uh, and the best way to overcome that is by applying technology to the processes so that you can create that visibility. And with that visibility, even on the bad days, you can still catch the mistakes and make sure that everything turns out the way you intended. And starting first with barcode scanning and label printing, and then mobile computing and network infrastructure, one distributed device population after another, for the last 30 plus years, we have applied technology to all kinds of different industries and environments to create that visibility.
What is the outcome that this help your clients achieve? Like, I mean, I couldn't agree more, right? When you want to scale, having the infrastructure, the technology that helps you have leverage, basically. Scale is a result of leverage, right? Now, you can absolutely scale with people, I think. It's just a different type of scale, and it would be much more linear, right? Because
Yes.
if you just need to add bodies to your team, obviously using growth terms here, but like if you just need to add people to your team in order to scale, it's going to be linear always until you enable them with technology. So the scale aspect, I get it, reducing the risk, I guess, as well. When you have automated technological processes that help you run the day to day, you have less risk
Yes.
of zero. That I mean,
Yes.
but so all this for what, Kevin? Like, what's the outcome that you help those companies achieve?
Um, Consistency and predictability of outcomes, being able to take the expertise of a small team and apply it to as many bodies as you need to in order to scale your processes today. Skill gaps is one of the biggest things that technology allows us to overcome. And through the application of software, of mobile computing, of network communications, automated data collection. You know, we started with barcode. Now it's visual cognition and robotics and artificial intelligence. And those technologies are force multipliers. They allow us, for instance, in our own operations, we're able to take the knowledge and expertise of a small engineering team to go think through, as I say, be the thoughtful organizer, and to think through the challenges of what it's going to take to acquire thousands of devices, deploy those to potentially thousands of sites, and then to own and operate them in a way that allows me to drive consistent outcomes. We do that with a labor force that oftentimes has almost, has very little technical prior experience, and their first day on the job they're doing high volume technical tasks because we've created software and technology and processes that allow us to do it that way. And that's, you know if I can have, a really expensive engineer that makes $250,000 a year, and take his expertise and apply that through a small army of people, 100 people that can then go do what that engineer can do on scale and deliver consistent quality outcomes. That's a force multiplier, and it allows. I'm helping both sides. The less experienced resource, after doing those kind of things for a while, starts to actually understand what they're doing, and next thing you know, they're actually engaged in and want to understand the technology and how it works. It's not just a job anymore. It's a learning process.
Makes a lot of sense. Who is it that you typically help then, Kevin? Like, do you have a specific niche, vertical, company size? Who is it that you do business with?
Over 30 years, we have literally done business with thousands of companies.
Amazing.
Retail, particularly grocery retail, has been our biggest vertical for most of the last 20 plus years. Um, Manufacturing, warehousing, transportation, and logistics. Um, we've done QuickBooks warehouse management for Intuit. That was one of the software products we built. We did global postal logistics for air cargo carriers, where we built a piece of software and integrated that into mobile computing and barcode technology so that hundreds of airlines around, well, dozens of airlines around the world. By the time we sold that business, we had about 60 airlines that were all sharing the same platform in real time, and we charged about a penny and a half a kilo to automate all the business processes between air cargo carriers and the global postal community. And if the airline carried more mail, we made more money, and our business scaled up and down with their business. And we were able to take that from three initial airlines in I think it was 2007, to over 60 global airlines when we exited in 2018. And we were handling about 2.5 billion messages a month about mail moving around the world on airplanes. And we had about 90% market share for global airmail. There was a 90% chance that if you were moving mail on an airplane, it was moving through our system as part of that process. Um, the Kroger company, the grocery store chain. We built their first generation of home grocery delivery software back in, we started development in 1999 and it went live in 2002. It was supposed to be a 5-store pilot. It was going to run for 6 months. They spent $5 million having us build that system, and it ended up running from 2002 to 2018, and it handled over 3.5 million e-commerce orders. Where we and it gave them a tool to go pick an order through a grocery store, through your local grocery store, to do it what's called a directed wave pick, and to make sure all of those items got to the right truck, that the truck had all the turn-by-turn directions it needed to go run its 2-hour route and deliver all of those groceries, and to give you a high-quality customer service experience as part of that process. And that project became the foundation of a decades-long relationship with Kroger that we still enjoy today. One generation after another of distributed device population technologies, we were engaged by Kroger to help them acquire it, evaluate it, deploy it, integrate it, service it, support it, keep it working every day. So those are the kind of problems. We've done BF Goodrich Aerospace makes carbon on carbon brake systems. And back decades ago, we helped them develop a process where they would put barcode labels on these big carbon discs that sat in ovens cooking at thousands of degrees for weeks. And they had to keep track of every disc in the furnace, because it was a requirement for FAA regulations in order to be able to track every component all the way through the manufacturing and the full life cycle of that brake disc that went on a 747. So we've done meat packing and circuit boards and hard drives and tape drives and electronics manufacturing. I've done turkey processing, ham, beef, you name it. And I truly enjoy getting to learn a little bit about all of those businesses as part of the process. And, you become a little bit of an expert in all kinds of things by getting the opportunity to go apply technology to them.
So I love that. 30 years in the field. So obviously you've worked with many different industries. I have a deep respect for businesses who are, keep operating after like decades, literally, because that for me that showcases skill number one, which is longevity and being able to withstand. One could say, especially lately, shifting markets. Let's put it this way.
To say the least.
Yeah. So, question for you, Kevin: what has worked for you to build that brand, build that authority? I'm not talking about sales quite yet. I'm more talking about having those different retail, aviation, turkey processing companies knock at the door and be like, "Hey, Kevin, we're interested." What has worked for you, marketing-wise?
Frankly, the most effective and lucrative source of new business opportunities has always been our existing customers. Either them engaging us to help them solve a new problem, or one of their employees getting a new job somewhere else and landing and calling us the next day and saying, "Hey, I have a mess. I need your help. Come help me clean this up." And we're always glad to do that. And once you find people you can trust is the core of all of it. And part of my commitment to the customer has always been, if you will trust us and give us the opportunity to solve the problem the way we know it ought to be solved, we will guarantee the outcome. And if we miss our mark, it's on us, not on you. And only once in the whole 30 years have I had to give a customer their money back and as I say, apologize for wasting their time. We solved the problem, but unfortunately we solved it in a way that was not sustainable, because the customer wasn't really qualified to own and operate the technology we implemented. And I gave them their money back, and I said, "Good luck."
I like that. So word of mouth and referral is the main thing. And I guess back to the longevity aspect, right? The best businesses are the ones that grow word of mouth. Have you played with some acquisition channels though over those last 30 years, Kevin?
Um,
Like,
Absolutely. We've actually, I've spent a lot of time and money over the last 3 years building what I refer to as an entirely new path to market for B2B technology in the US. There's a parallel channel that evolved out of the telecom industry
mhm.
that has evolved into a very cost effective and efficient path to market out of that telecom channel. They call themselves master agents, and they started out selling phone lines and internet connectivity. And now there's in the U.S. there's about six major master agents, and they field about 100,000 commission only sales reps in the U.S. And we are now partnered with two of those, AppDirect and Intellisys, and they're bringing us multiple business opportunities a week. And these are sales reps that may or may not have any knowledge of the kind of technology or business solutions that we actually deliver. But they have trusted relationships with the customers. They're already doing business with the customers, and when the customer has a need, they want to help. And we've created a program that allows them to sell everything we do, and we pay them commissions, and transact directly with the customer. Um, in the past, we've had, we do social media, LinkedIn. Um, we really haven't done too much on other social media channels. I've had some success and gotten some notoriety as out of some other podcasts in the past. Frankly, I've attracted more attention from venture capital guys and private equity acquirers through podcasts than I have end customers. But that's not such a bad thing either. My whole sector is in the process of being rolled up, and I'm one of the last standouts in of the scaled competitors in my industry to still be independent.
Love it. How do you move from word of mouth, referral, authority, podcasts to a conversation, Kevin, a sales conversation, an SOW, a letter of engagement with rock and roll? How does one go from basically nothing to, yeah, working with AccuCode?
One of the things that you asked in the preparation for this was, who typically in the organization is the champion that we're working with that is engaging us. It almost always starts with the CIO or the COO, and a recognition of a need to overcome a question of quality control or scale or cost models. And then, you know, really digging into the problem and understanding what it's going to take to create a sustainable approach to visibility for that process. And then once we have visibility, we can use software to begin to model outcomes and drive consistent behavior across a very large scale. Um, for instance, with that airline industry application, Frontier Airlines actually engaged us to develop a baggage system for them. And we had literally just completed the functional requirements phase and had written several hundred pages of documents about, okay, here's how this process needs to work. And we were supposed to start development shortly after that. And instead, Frontier came to us and said, "Yeah, we're going to have to reallocate this budget. We're not going to be able to do this project this year. We need a system to facilitate our mail business. Can you help us with that?" And by the time we finished the first version of that product, we had also sold it to Midwest Airlines and another one that's escaping my mind at the moment. But we built a version of that. Ended up that first version was done on premise in a Microsoft architecture, and it failed miserably. The specs were changing so rapidly that we were pushing out multiple software updates a week, and being one rev level behind meant you may not get paid for the mail you carried today. And so we had to start like 3 years into that business model. We had to start over from scratch and redevelop the entire platform in a multi-tenant architecture using Java and web architecture, and so that multiple airlines could collaborate in real time together around moving mail from A to B to C, and that to provide a consistent interface back to the airlines. And by moving it into a multi-tenant cloud-based environment, we were able to do that where a way that we maintained the entire code stack, and all of the updates were done by us in our controlled environment. And we only had one instance of the application to keep updated. And it just dramatically improved the whole process and how it worked. Allowed us to get to a place where we could charge pennies per kilo to automate all those business processes. The same 9-person team that developed that very first, developed, supported, and sold that product was ultimately able to scale all the way up to billions of messages a month, because of the way we solved the problem. And as I say, it's all about being the thoughtful organizer. First, you have to understand the problem, then you have to solve the problem in a way that doesn't require an army to sustain. And but that can be scaled across a very large, set of operations, and that's kind of the core of what we do for everything. The hardware, I always tell the hardware manufacturers, and they're never very happy about it. But as I say, you're not the reason I'm here. You're the bait. The customer is going to need these technologies, and if I don't supply them and support them, it's going to make my projects that much more difficult. And it pays me just enough to justify engaging with the customers, and that gives me the opportunity to find the more valuable problems to go solve.
I love this, and I love that the first thing you tackled by answering this question was who this was for. So the CIOs, CTOs, COOs. At the end of the day, I think, especially in our line of works, right? So professional services, knowing more about the prospect than about the product. Of course, you want to know about the product, but being perfectly aware of who is it that you're servicing, what are their pain points, what are their desired outcomes, what are their challenges, what are they searching at home when no one is watching, and knowing them that well unlocks everything afterwards. Talk to me about retention, Kevin. So we've discussed marketing, sales, positioning. What happens once the deal is signed? How do you make sure that you keep on solving the next problem and the next problem and the next problem for your client, so that you increase client retention? How do you think about that at AccuCode?
It starts with integrity. Literally, our latest software as a service product is an application called For Work, the number 4 in work. There's a number of videos about that application on our YouTube channel. The application allows us to share real-time visibility with our customers of everything we're doing for them and how it turned out and why. And here's the pictures. And that same application allows us to give them complete asset management and transparency about what devices were provisioned, where they were installed, who did the installation, what the warranty periods were, what software licenses they're entitled to, all of these things. And we had to go build that and that application is now over a decade old. It's our 4th software as a service product. And one of the things one of our mottos at AccuCode is when we fail, we want to fail honestly. And part of what happens in that retention process is that when I'm doing a deployment at Bank of America or PF Chang's or any kind of business, and there's a mistake, we damaged the property, we broke the floor at PF Chang's, the lift cracked the tile in their entryway. We immediately are sending them alert saying, hey, there's a problem at this site. Here's the pictures. We've already scheduled the contractor to come in and do repair work. That proactive approach to saying, hey, there's a problem. There's nothing that builds trust like taking responsibility for your own mistakes and making sure that they don't happen again, and providing that transparency. Because now, as a manager, I know I can trust you. I know that no matter how it turns out, you're going to come back to me and tell me exactly what happened and why. And if it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, you're going to have a plan to make sure that it doesn't happen that way again. And that is, we call that failing honestly. And nothing builds trust quite like that, be an adult, take responsibility for your mistakes and learn from them, and now iterate.
I like your style, Kevin. So I'm going to ask you a bit of a curveball question now, if you don't mind.
I love curveballs.
What's your number one challenge right now? What is the one nut that you're trying to crack that, once you crack, you're going to take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
That channel strategy that we've been working on for the last 3 years, it's been daunting. The channel partners we're selling through, they have, all the major technologies you can think of today are on their line card. And so they're very busy. It's hard to get their attention. The problems and the technologies and the processes that we address are new to them. So there's an educational effort there. But I mentioned most of my peer competitors have now been acquired by private equity. There's, probably 7 or 8, maybe up to 10 competing private equity backed roll-ups going on in my industry right now. And if I'm going to survive and thrive and succeed in that environment, and our industry is also in change right now. So we're transitioning from industrial mobile computing and barcode technology to things like RFID, IoT, visual cognition, robotics. And there's a whole new set of skills that comes with those new technologies. Being able to adapt and to scale the delivery, service, and support of one generation after another of those kind of technologies is a big deal. It's a challenge. The private equity backed startup roll-ups, for the most part, all they've got some money, and they haven't got much of they're not very good, thoughtful organizers. They buy disparate pieces and parts and try to bolt them together to create a cohesive model, but often it's less than cohesive, and it's often more like P&Ls bolted on top of each other. We're taking a different approach. I believe there's a more efficient path to market, and that's what we're working on with this telecom channel strategy. And we're taking more of a partnership approach with the technology, the software vendors, the hardware vendors. We're collaborating with them on the markets and the opportunities and the problem sets. And the same thing with the customers. We want everybody to. I've been telling my competitors for 30 years, if you think we're competing, you don't know me. If you do something I don't, I would like to work with you. If you do something better than I do, I'd like to hire you. And if I can do something you can't, you should let me help you. And frankly, I'm trying to help everybody, as I said. And often, even if you don't want my help, I don't care. That just makes me think you probably need my help more. So I've tried to sell my software to all of my peer competitors. It's a big, frankly, it's a huge competitive advantage for us. One of the things that we can do that most of them can't is scale nationwide on-site installation, service, and support at a time when all of the new technologies that are growing in our industry all require permanent on-site installation, service, and support. And our industry has not really had to do that for most of the last 30 years. Most of my competitors stopped doing field services years ago because they didn't do network infrastructure. That's one of the things that made us different, is that we did a lot of large scale network deployment. That's more akin to construction work than it is IT. It's about drilling holes in walls and pulling conduit and fiber and terminating fiber and Cat6 and to do it well and to do it right, you have to be a thoughtful organizer. and you have to have a means to large scale field service from a labor standpoint. If that's a standing army of your own full-time employees, that's incredibly expensive. And we've solved that problem using 1099 resources that are mostly low voltage electricians. And our software allows us to lift them up and make them more qualified than what they really are, and to get very high quality outcomes and results through that process. And so I'm very optimistic about the future. I still enjoy what I do, and we're we're in an interesting time. Bad economic times means that what I do is even more valuable, because when you're growing and profitable, nobody's that worried about getting more efficient. But when you're
Interesting.
shrinking and your market's under pressure, your hair's on fire, as I say, you get really motivated to get more efficient. And I'm in the efficiency business, and business is good. Especially right now, we've got customers. Labor costs have gone up by over 30% since COVID, and grocery retailers and manufacturers and transportation companies are all feeling the pressure of that increased labor cost. And technology is one of the only tools they've got to combat that. We did a project recently with Kroger where we deployed RFID technology into their bakeries in all the stores. And there's now an RFID tag with the expiration date of that loaf of bread in every Kroger across the United States. And there's a couple of mobile devices that are being used once or twice a day by staff to walk through the bakery and identify any products that need to be discounted for immediate sale. And that's significantly, they're saving a lot of money on that labor. It used to
I
be
love that.
it used to take hours a day, and now it takes minutes a day. And that project's been so successful in reducing shrinkage that they've now expanded it out to other perishable food categories in the store. That's that's the kind of thing that we do, and changes in everybody's business, like labor cost or transport fuel costs, like what's happening with oil prices right now. Technology is one of the only tools you've got to combat that, and that's the core of what we do.
Kevin Price, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Yeah. AccuCode.com, AccuCode.
We will put the link in the description. For what I'm concerned, I can say that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview, Kevin. Me, I've just added you. Kevin,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast.
I have to say, I really enjoyed your podcast, preparing for this and listening to some of the other episodes. And I'm happy to make your acquaintance. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time. How